Come on and praise him. Come on and praise him. Praise the Lord. I will bless the Lord at all times. His praises shall continually be in my mouth. I will bless him with my whole heart. I've got a right to praise him. You got a right to praise him. Everybody come and praise the Lord with me. 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 Come on and praise him. Come on and praise him. Come on and praise him. Praise the Lord. I will bless the Lord at all times. His praises shall continually be in my mouth. I will bless him with my whole heart. I've got a right to praise him. You got a right to praise him. Everybody come and praise the Lord with me. 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 Come on and praise him. Come on and praise him. Come on and praise him. Praise the Lord.
Good morning, family. It's so great to have you join us again. We're excited about another week of streaming, doing something new as we canoe mountains. Looking forward to what God is going to do through us, to us, as we continue to bless and honor him. I'm asking that you would continue to remain safe. Take all the precautionary measures that all of the health officials are recommending. But then I'd like to say this, don't risk your own health. You know what you can do and what you can't do. And I'm asking that you would exercise some good common sense. Now, I know it's difficult these days. Everybody is itching to get back out. Your pastor is itching to get back out. I haven't had a haircut in several weeks now, and it's about time. But that's okay. There are some things that the darkness teaches us that we don't need to necessarily be worried about it. While so many of us are worried about the outward appearance, God continues to search and work on our inward man. And so my prayer is that even during this time, that you use this time as an opportunity, a time of reflection, to say to God, what is it that you want me to do? How is it that you want me to be better? Also keep in mind that we send out weekly reminders on our MailChimp. If you are not receiving those reminders, that means we do not have accurate contact information for you. And if you would, please make sure that our church office has that, so that we can ensure that you aren't missing out on anything that we are, or any information that we have going forward and out. We love you. I love you. Thank you. God bless you. Stay safe. And here's this morning's sermon. Our text this morning is found in the Gospel of John, chapter 1, beginning at verse 1. It reads thusly: in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by him. And without him was not anything made that was made. In him was life, and that life was the light of men. And the light shineth in the darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. That fifth verse again says, and the light shineth in the darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. For just a few minutes, I want to talk to you this morning from these words: when darkness falls. When darkness falls. I'm sure that you would agree with me that it is dark in our world today. There is a darkness of disease, a virus, coronavirus, COVID-19 to date has infected over 2 million people, has killed over 150,000 people. It's dark in our world. This darkness has closed schools. It has shuttered businesses. It has even closed churches. It's dark in our world. The darkness of the disease, and this darkness of disease has left some of us in a darkness of doubt. Without the rugs of our comfort snatched from up under us, we have been left to the resolve of doubt. This won't get any better. I don't know if my children will be able to receive an adequate education. I don't know if the business or the company that I own or work for will survive these dark times. And listen, the truth of the matter is, I really don't know if the church where I worship and that I love so very much will be able to last through this. It's dark. It's a darkness that comes from this disease. This darkness has cast a shadow of doubt over us. And then as we have been cast into this shadow of doubt, it has left many in moments of despair. We see the darkness of despair. This disease has left us in this moment of doubt, and now despair has crept in. Despair suggests that there is no hope. Despair gazes into the eternal depths of life and sees nothing, no opportunity, no chance, no hope. When despair sets in, many of us just throw in the towel, say there is no hope for this situation. Darkness has fallen. When darkness falls for many, the only answer is despair. But may I offer and suggest that even though darkness has fallen, that it is in life's dark moments that sometimes there are lessons that we can only learn in the darkness that we can't learn in the light. Society has even shared with us that darkness only has a negative connotation, but I brought good news from the dark side this morning that sometimes darkness has a different purpose. Darkness is not always negative. Darkness is not always final. Darkness doesn't always have to cast doubt. Darkness does not always have to be about despair, but darkness can be a potential for deliverance. When darkness falls, what are you going to do with it? When darkness falls, what will you say to yourself? What resolve will you come to say, I'm either going to throw in the towel and quit, or I'll sit still and listen to what the Lord has to say to me in dark moments. The truth be told today, my brothers and my sisters, that although we are in dark times, the darkness has a purpose. Don't you know that before the darkness fell, there was some husband, there was some wife that was getting ready to throw in the towel in their marriage, but when darkness fell, they couldn't go anywhere, couldn't go see anybody else, had to face one another, and now they've got to work out the issues in their marriage, all because darkness fell. Or maybe it's a lesson to that parent that says, I need to spend more time with my child. Before darkness fell, you were able to pawn your child off on any and everybody. The video game raised them. But now that darkness has fallen, you got to come face to face and be a real parent to your child. Darkness does not always have a negative connotation. There are some lessons that can only be learned in the darkness. Some experiences that can only be had in moments of doubt, despair, and darkness. The darkness is not always a bad thing. Sometimes it causes us to pause, because many churches, the doors have shuttered across this country, this nation, even this world. It has caused us to think about how we are really doing ministry, and are we doing it really in the name of God? It's caused us to pause and reflect on how we've really been living our lives. So when darkness falls, what do we do? How are we, as born again, blood-bought believers, what should be our Christian response to it? I wish I was smart enough to give you an answer, but I found the answer in the Word of God. And here it is, right in the Gospel of John, chapter 1. John says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by him. Without him was not anything made that was made. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. Literally, John says, while man was in a dark state, didn't know that they were in a dark state, that light had to come in and shine on their dark situation to show them how very messed up they were. And that's the good thing about a dark situation is sometimes you don't know how degenerate you are until you get in the darkness. Sometimes you don't know how broken you really are till you get in the darkness, and light has to shine on your broken situation. John says Jesus Christ came to shine light on a dark world, a world that was broken because of sin, a world that was broken because of selfishness, of degradation, a world that had turned its back on its Creator. Jesus Christ came to shine that light, to show men, women, boys, and girls that without God, you are absolutely nothing. If left to your own devices, you will destroy yourselves. He brought light into the world, but the only problem with light is this. And the only problem with being a human being is that we have a choice
on whether or not we will accept or reject the light. John says in verse 5, he says, the light shineth in the darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. Literally, the light is shining, and the darkness doesn't even know the light is shining. You missed it. You missed your shout cue. That went over your head. Let me say it again. The light is shining in the darkness, and the darkness doesn't even know the light is shining. Let me say it one more time. I see you out there in TV, radio land, whatever this is, asking the question, I don't get it, I don't understand. How in the world can light shine in the darkness and darkness not know the light is shining? John says the light shines, but the darkness can't even comprehend that the light is on. That they're so hard-hearted, they're so degenerate, they're so messed up that now that the light is on, they won't even accept that the light is on. And that's what happens to many of us when darkness falls. We don't just get in moments of doubt and despair because of disease, but we get in moments of doubt and despair because we get lost and have been lost in the darkness. He says the world is lost in her darkness. She's so lost in her darkness that even though the light is shining, the world does not even comprehend it. It is the dual meaning of the word found in this text, that not just the ability not to understand or comprehend the light, but it is a rejection of that light that has presented itself. I see the light. I know it's illuminating my life, but I don't want the light. And isn't it a terrible situation to be in darkness, to be lost in darkness, get help, and then not want to receive the help, or not take the help that has been or is being offered to you? John says that when darkness falls, you cannot get lost in darkness. It was that French mathematician Blaise Pascal who said there is enough light for those who only desire to see the light, but then there's enough darkness for those who only desire to see the darkness. Literally, the light is there, but if you don't want to receive it, you will remain lost in the darkness. I have a dog. Her name is Casey, a miniature schnauzer. She's become my best friend since the passing of my wife, and we hang out a lot together. And oftentimes when I take her out at night, she'll wander off on her own. I keep my eye on her, but she gets caught up in her own business. She'll wander a good distance off, and all of a sudden she'll pop her head up, and she'll realize that she's gone too far. And it's dark out, so she can no longer see me, but I can see her. She can't see me, but I can see her. And I can see her in a panic now that she's gotten lost in the darkness, and she's running around looking for me. I won't say a mumbling word. I'll just laugh and say, look at her. She got lost in the darkness. I'm still keep my eye on her because she's my baby, and I don't want anything to happen to her. But I watch her as she meanders in the darkness, lost. And I often imagine as I watch my young miniature schnauzer, is that what God does? He says, I'm You know I'm watching you. I've provided light for your life, but you are so content with being lost in the darkness that you go on your own way, and one day your head pops up and you realize that you've gone too far. But it's good news, my brothers and my sisters, that no matter how far I go, that the Lord keeps his eye on me, even in the darkness. When darkness falls, it's incumbent upon you and I, my brothers and my sisters, to not get lost in the darkness. Not get lost in the darkness. And when you get lost in the darkness, you become satisfied with lingering in the darkness. The darkness becomes a part of your normal life. I told you about that, my dog, my miniature schnauzer named Casey, but John speaks to the real people with real situations who Jesus Christ is coming to shed light on their lives. And he understands that many of them will reject that light. They will remain lost in the darkness. And so now what they'll do is linger in the darkness. They'll just hang around darkness, become satisfied with darkness. I can hear my grandmother say it like this: if you lay down with dogs long enough, you're bound to come up with fleas. And listen, the flea was not your intent to catch, but because you lingered in darkness so long, there's some things that will attach themselves to you. That's why you got to be careful, my brothers and my sisters. We all must be careful about being lost in the darkness, but then lingering in the darkness. We don't have to stay lingering, meandering to and from. When I think about that little schnauzer that I have, when she gets lost in the darkness, I can see her pop her head up, and she'll start running around looking for me. And I must admit, I'm not the best owner. Sometimes I play a little trick on her, and I'll hide behind a tree, or I'll get behind a bush, and she'll just go running, looking for me, because she's lingered in the darkness. And may I suggest to you, my brothers and my sisters, that when you get lost in the darkness and find yourself lingering in the darkness, what's important for you to do is to find your way back home somehow. So here it is, when you're lost, when you linger, here it is. This is what we ought to do when darkness falls. We ought to learn how to learn from the darkness. I used to hear those old folks sing that song that says, "Oh, take me back. I want to go back." Well, where do you want to go back to? I want to go back to that place where I first had an encounter with the Lord. I want to go back to that place where I saw the original light. I want to go back. I've been in darkness too long now. I want to go back to where God picked me up, turned me around, placed my feet on solid ground. I want to go back to where I first met the Lord. Literally, in this text, John is saying that the only way that you can get out of darkness is that you go back to the originator, the one who was there during creation. You can't do it on your own. You cannot do it on your own power and your own might. You've got to have a source that comes from someone, something that is all powerful. We know that person as Jesus Christ. He's able to do exceedingly and abundantly more than I can ask or think. How do I know he's able to do it? How do I know he's able to be pedagogical in my darkness? I know he's able because he existed before the darkness. You're looking at me kind of like I don't know what I'm talking about. But can I tell you that God can handle the darkness well. He's able to fix dark situations. For Genesis declares these words, that in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. And the earth was without and void, and darkness covered the earth. But when God began speaking, darkness had to roll away. God can handle the darkness. I know he can. I know God can turn dark situations into bright situations. I don't have to ask any. I don't have to ask you about your life. I can look at my own life. For he brought me out of darkness into the marvelous light. I know God can handle darkness. You're still looking at me kind of strange. I know what I'm talking about. Gee, we about ready to go home. Oh, but one Friday night, darkness. I know my God can handle darkness. Oh, now my Savior did die. The world got, they buried him in a borrowed tomb. But thank God that's not where the story ends. He did stay there all night Friday night, all morning Saturday morning, all afternoon Saturday afternoon, all night Saturday night. But early, I said early, he got up with all power in his hands. And because he lives, I can face tomorrow. Because he lives, all fears are gone. I've got a light that shines in my life. He walks with me. He talks with me. He tells me I am his own. And this joy, I said, woo, as we tarry here, none other has ever known. He's a light in a dark world. He's a light in a dark situation. He's a light in a dark world.